If Heartland has ever felt like more than a show, if it has lived with you through different stages of your life, then this moment lands differently. This isn't nostalgia. This is emotional history resurfacing. Season 20, Episode 1 doesn't just open a new chapter, it reopens a wound fans thought had finally scarred over. Ty Borden's return isn't framed as a miracle or a shock twist. It arrives like a reckoning, quiet, heavy, and impossible to ignore. From the first moments, the episode signals that something is shifting beneath the surface. The ranch looks the same, but it doesn't feel the same. There's a stillness in the air, the kind that exists right before something long buried is forced into the light. For years, Heartland taught its audience how to live with loss. Ty's absence wasn't treated as a temporary storyline, it reshaped the emotional architecture of the series. Amy didn't just grieve, she adapted. She learned how to carry pain without letting it destroy her, how to raise Lyndy with strength instead of bitterness, how to keep the ranch alive while parts of her heart stayed frozen in the past. This episode respects that journey. It doesn't pretend the loss was clean or resolved. It shows us a woman who survived but never truly healed. That distinction matters because survival hardens you in ways healing never does. The pacing of the episode is deliberate, almost restrained. Instead of rushing toward Ty's return, the story lingers on absence. Conversations trail off, silences stretch longer than expected. Characters pause mid-thought, as if something unspoken is pressing against them. The show understands that anticipation isn't built through spectacle, but through emotional memory. Every shot of the ranch feels loaded with what used to be there. Every quiet glance carries weight. The episode invites viewers to remember not just what they lost, but how long they've been living without it. Amy, at the center of it all, appears composed on the surface. She's capable, steady, and grounded, but there's a distance in her eyes that wasn't always there. Her strength feels earned, but also exhausting. She's not dreaming anymore, she's managing, and that emotional state makes Ty's return so destabilizing, because it doesn't just bring back love, it brings back the version of herself she had to let go of to survive. The episode makes it clear that Amy isn't waiting for Ty, she's moved forward. But moving forward doesn't mean forgetting, and it certainly doesn't mean being ready. When Ty finally re-enters the story, it's framed as disruption. There's no rush of music, no dramatic declaration, just presence. Real, undeniable presence. And Amy's reaction is devastating in its restraint. She doesn't collapse into him, she doesn't smile, she freezes. Because the moment isn't about reunion, it's about collision, past and present crashing into each other without warning. The grief she learned to live with doesn't vanish, it wakes up. This is what makes the episode powerful. It doesn't ask whether Ty's return is wanted, it asks what it costs. What happens when the thing you mourned comes back changed, and you've changed too. The episode isn't promising answers yet, it's setting the emotional stakes, and by the end of this section of the story, one truth is clear. Heartland isn't undoing the past, it's forcing its characters and its audience to finally face it. The emotional weight deepens as the episode widens its focus beyond Amy, allowing the family's reactions to tell their own quiet stories. Jack is the first to ground the moment, not with speeches, but with presence. He looks at Ty the way someone looks at a truth they never fully stopped believing in. There's no interrogation in his eyes, no anger demanding explanation. Jack has lived long enough to know that timing rarely makes sense, and that love doesn't disappear just because life interrupts it. His acceptance isn't loud, but it's powerful. In that calm response, Jack gives the rest of the family permission to feel without fear, to hope without immediately protecting themselves from disappointment. Lyndy's reaction shifts the emotional gravity in a way no adult response could. She doesn't carry years of grief or betrayal, she carries absence, questions without answers, feelings without names. When she sees Ty, there is hesitation, not from fear, but from trying to understand something she has only ever imagined. Her recognition is instinctive rather than intellectual. Children don't need explanations to feel connection. When she reaches for him, the moment becomes unbearable in its simplicity. This isn't a reunion built on memory. It's the beginning of something that should have existed all along. Her quiet acceptance reframes Ty's return from a closed chapter reopening into a future cautiously stepping forward. Lou's response injects realism into the episode. She is relieved, but relief is tangled with vigilance. Lou stayed when everything broke. She watched Amy rebuild herself piece by piece and watched Lyndy grow up with unanswered questions. For her, Ty's return isn't just emotional, it's risky. Hope feels dangerous when you've seen what it can destroy. Her guarded tone isn't rejection, it's protection. But as the episode unfolds, Lou notices something she hasn't seen in years. Amy isn't just holding herself together, she's feeling again. That realization softens Lou's resistance, because love returning doesn't always mean damage. Sometimes it means healing can finally begin. Tim's reaction arrives wrapped in humor, but it doesn't stay there. His jokes are armor, familiar and defensive, but when silence falls, the truth surfaces. Tim carries guilt he never voiced, guilt for not being able to shield his family from pain. Ty's return forces him to confront emotions he buried under stubbornness. There's relief in his eyes, even if he won't name it. Pride, too. This moment reminds us that Tim's heart has always been larger than his ego, even when he struggled to show it. Georgie's presence adds emotional balance. She doesn't rush the moment or demand answers. She understands that healing doesn't happen on command. Her quiet support of Amy, her measured interaction with Ty, reflects someone who has learned that love and loss can coexist. Growth hasn't erased her pain. It has taught her how to carry it with empathy. The private conversation between Amy and Ty becomes the emotional core of the episode, and it refuses easy resolution. There are long pauses, words chosen carefully, silences that speak louder than apologies. Ty acknowledges the pain his absence caused without defending himself. Amy speaks of survival, of fear, of the terror of hoping again. Love is still there, undeniable, but so is caution. This moment isn't about forgiveness, it's about truth. The family dinner scene closes the episode with quiet symbolism. No grand declarations, just shared space, awkward laughter, careful glances, a table that finally feels full again. Healing isn't complete, but it has started. Heartland doesn't promise that love fixes everything. It promises that facing pain together is the only way forward. And in that honesty, the episode delivers something fans have waited years to feel. Not closure, but possibility.